This is the Jeff Jarena Show.
Hey guys, sometimes the simplest moments end up teaching the biggest lessons, right? That's exactly what happened to me when I took my son to a card show for the first time. Hey, real quick, before we jump into the podcast, I want to tell you about a new book that I've got coming out this April. It's called Special Ops for Men, 15 Missions Guaranteed to Strengthen Your Faith and Transform Your Life Today. And this book is designed to help you strengthen your faith, sharpen your mindset, and build real discipline in your own daily life. I'm talking about spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And one of the really cool things about this book is that you can go through every one of these 15 super quick, easy to execute, power-packed missions by yourself, with your buddies, your own band of brothers, or even a small group or leadership team. And right now you can pre-order it at a special discounted rate and get some really cool free bonus resources. So to find out more and get your own copy now, go to jeffjarena.com/books/special ops for men. That's SPECIALOPSFORMEN. Okay, so hey guys, welcome back to the show. It's Jeff here, and I just want to jump into the podcast episode right now because the other day here, actually about 2 weeks ago, I took my son to a card show. Now, I had never been to a card show before, and he had never been to a card show either, so this was kind of a really cool experience that we can enjoy together, right? And so with this being our first time to a card show, basically we're walking into this thing not knowing anything, right? Now, we did do some kind of pre-research here on the type of cards that he's trading. In a fun way he's doing this. He only has about 10 cards right now. But I personally didn't know much about these cards other than what he's told me. So I told my son, I said, hey, we really need to kind of get some preliminary information here. We kind of have to get our detective hats on. We got to be a sleuth and get some information here before we walk into the card show. And by the way, this card show, it was a Dallas card show. It was really cool. I mean, there must have been, they said there were 700 tables there, but I don't know if there were that many. I would say at least 400 tables for sure. And now, we didn't go into every one of these big rooms that they had, but suffice to say, man, it was a really great experience. It was a fun time that I got to spend with my son, learned a lot of things. He got some new cards. And, this podcast episode, what I want to talk about here is just a reminder here of the importance of asking questions, right? Of when you don't know something, you've got to get in the mode of getting your detective hat on, being a sleuth. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about in this podcast. So when we show up here to the card show, it was on a Saturday, and there was all these people there. And right away I could see that so many adults and kids were walking in with these binders with all their cards in there, and some of them had these protective cases. And my son and I, we just walk in by ourselves, right? We're there to buy something. We're not there to trade. But right away, I could just sense that we are the novices in the room, right? We don't know much, okay? Where everyone else seemed like they knew exactly what they were doing. Well, that was not the case with us, okay? So we had a choice there in that moment that we could pretend like we knew what was going on, like we knew what we were doing, right? Or we could just, admit it. We could be humble and say, we don't know what's going on. We need some help. And so we made a simple decision that we needed some help. We needed to start asking questions, or I would say ask more questions, because we did do some preliminary research before that. So we were asking simple questions like, when we were at these tables, questions like, hey, how do you know what a card's worth? Or why is this card more expensive than the other ones? What makes this one more valuable, whatever. Now, I will add here that we weren't just asking the individuals at the card tables selling or trading their cards, right? We were asking individuals like us, individuals that were there to maybe buy cards, or maybe, just a few people, it was their first time. So we were trying to soak up as much information as we could, as much wisdom as we could. And here's what surprised me. People were more than willing to help. That was what was really cool about that. And so once we got past worrying about looking inexperienced or feeling like we didn't know what was going on, we started to learn fast, right? Really fast here. And it was really because people were helping us out. And so that experience here, it stuck with me because it really comes down to a few simple, powerful lessons that apply to every area of your life, right? And so I'm going to go over those here in this podcast. And this is going to be real quick here. And so just some quick points here. So the first point that I want to share here, just really from my experience here, and hope you can apply this in your life, is that if you don't know something, you have to ask. Now that sounds obvious, right? But let's think about it. How many times have you personally, maybe you didn't know something, but you didn't ask for help, right? And how many other people do you know that don't do that? So the question is, why? Why do we not ask for help? Is it because we don't want to look like we don't know what's going on? We don't want to look like, hey, we're falling behind. We don't want to look, like we're not cool. We don't want to look like we don't have it all together. We don't want to look, I don't know, stupid or whatever. I don't know. What is the reason there? And as you're thinking about that, I want to share here, maybe this is the truth here, is that we don't grow by pretending that we have the answers, right? Or we know it all. We can't pretend. We grow by being honest with ourselves about what we don't know, right? So you have to be honest right now about what you don't know, whatever that is in life. So there's an expression, I'm sure you've heard this before, that a lot of people will say, what you don't know won't hurt you. Well, that's not true, because what you don't know will hurt you. If you don't know the traffic laws, or you don't know how to drive, or you don't know of a specific way of doing something, that can hurt you, right? So you got to know the answers. You got to know what it is that you're doing, what it is that you're trying to learn. You got to know. If you don't know how to do your job right, you're going to get fired. And if you don't know enough about Scripture, you got to dig into the Word. You got to get in there and read Scripture. You got to pray. You got to ask. And God will help you. He's right there. He's always with us. Okay, so the second point I want to make here is that you have to be curious enough to dig deeper, right? You've got to be that detective. You got to be that sleuth. You got to be that individual that's like, man, I want to get this thing figured out. And I'm not going to stop until I get the answers. And you can't just take the first answer you hear and run with it, right? There's that saying that says, trust but verify. You got to verify that what you're hearing from, one source is the correct answer, is the right way of doing something. I mean, you can't just take that one answer as gospel, right? You got to talk to different people. You got to compare what they're saying, right? You got to see what lines up, what doesn't line up. You have to pay attention. And you have to treat it like you're trying to figure something out, not just casually listening. That's how we actually learn what's real, right? That's what we actually learn what's correct. And here's the third point I want to make. Not all advice is equal. I'm sure you already know that. Now, going back to this example here of when my son and I went to the card show, we realized really quickly that some people really knew their stuff about trading cards, right? They really knew what was going on. And some people didn't. And so we went to those tables, we went to those individuals that really knew what they were talking about. Now, I will add here that we went to the tables that we felt like those individuals were helping us out. In fact, what was really cool is one of the first tables we went to, I told those two guys there that were running that table, they had all these cards there, man. Some of them were really good, low price, and others were, I couldn't believe how high these cards were. But I told them that my son was trying to start his card set. And they said, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. So they had about 7 or 8 cards. They turned them over. They didn't show us what they were. Turned them over. They were in these nice hard cases, so they were protected. And it turned them over, and he said, okay, you can pick one of these cards, and you pick it. You can have that for free. And on the back of them, they had little stickers with numbers. And one was a number of 10, another one was 5, another one was 30. And then some of them didn't have any. And I was like, man, I gotta help my son out here. I want him to pick the one that says 30 because the 30 was $30. Those numbers represented the price of that card. And I was like, man, should I help him here? And I'm like, well, if I help him, they may say, well, we're not going to do it. So I stayed out of it. And he picked the one that said 10. And I was like, oh, man, I wish he would have picked the one that had the $30 on it. But he picked this card that was worth $10, and they gave it to him for free. And I thought, man, how cool was that? Now, there's a business lesson here that by those guys doing that, they actually gained a customer. Because me as a consumer, I was like, wow, this is a really cool thing. So, when we're ready to buy some cards here, we're going to make sure we come to this table. And so I told my son, hey, you can take 20 of your dollars, you can spend that, and whatever you spend, I will match that. So we were going to spend $40 to buy little card packs, whatever, my individual cards. And so when they did that, he got this card, $10, that he didn't have to pay for. And so then we ended up buying 2 card packs from them, and then 1 card pack from somebody else, and then a couple other cards from another table. But that's a business lesson for you there is, if you can kind of give something of value first to your customers, you can end up getting a customer back. Now, it doesn't always work like that. But here's the other thing here that I want to talk about here in this lesson is that by them doing that, being helpful, we felt like, hey, their advice seems to make the most sense, right? We weighed their advice, their wisdom, more so than everybody else's because they were doing this in a way to us that felt like they weren't just trying to get our money, okay? So the point here is that if you're not paying attention to the source, right, that you're getting this information from, you can end up taking advice from the wrong person, right? So you got to be intentional about it. And you've got to learn from people who've actually done it, who've gone that route before. People with real experience, not just their own opinions. And so the fourth point I want to make here is that we have to remain teachable, right? We've got to stay teachable. And so even after we left the card show, we kept learning, right? We were looking things up on the internet. We were watching videos. We were asking more questions because that right there, that card show was just the beginning, right? And asking individuals is just the start of the process, right? Of whatever you're trying to learn, whatever you're trying to get better at, whatever you're trying to do better. Asking is just the start. Real growth comes when you stay in it, right? When you stay in the process, you stay in the fight, and you keep leaning in to the process of learning. Now, yeah, that's going to take some humility, right? It's going to take some time. But that's where the real progress is, right? That's where it really happens. And so at the end of the day here, that card show wasn't really about cards, was it? If you're a parent, you already know what it really was about. It was, first and foremost, it was about spending time with my son. And it also was about time to learn something new and have some fun together. But to me, it was also a reminder that the people who move forward in life aren't the ones who have all the answers. They're the ones willing to go find them. You may not have all the resources right now, but you can be resourceful to get those resources. So wherever you are right now, don't sit back and just guess your way through it, right? Ask questions, stay curious, keep learning. And I think when you keep doing that, you're going to figure it out. And hey, real quick, if you're looking for something that will help you grow in that same way, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically, that's exactly why I wrote Special Ops for Men. It's more than a book. It's more than a devotional or just another practical guide. It's a battle plan for your life. Real boots on the ground deployment to help you build discipline, strengthen your faith, and take action in your daily life right now. Now, if that sounds like something you need right now, You can pre-order it at a special rate and get some really cool bonus resources at jeffjarena.com/books/special ops for men. All right, see you later. God bless.